Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I am really excited to be here with Michael Fishman. So, let me tell you about Michael. Since 1994, he has been the leader of the Consumer Health Summit founder community. He's been an advisor for over 30 years to wellness brands and personalities on growth strategy via positioning, brand voice, and marketing. He's a speaker on subjects like consumer psychology, work culture, and harnessing the principles of hospitality in business. Welcome, Michael.
Hi, Sandy. Thank you so much for the honor of being
So,
here.
well, I am just so excited to have a conversation with you because we are rolling out our business building track for our core curriculum. And we titled it Building a Heart Centered Business Outside the Box. Because I really believe, as I know you do, that leading from the heart is the way that you build your business. So, can you talk about that principle of heart centered?
Sure. Well, how many hours do we have? um, well, I think there are a few pieces of that. Um, First of all, I really believe, and there's a lot of discussion in many business communities about the importance of a founder, any professional, any practitioner, knowing, being clear on their own story and their own reason why it is that they do what they do. And because I don't think any of us end up doing what we do by accident, there's generally some point to that led us to the position that we're in. And certainly in the healing professions, coaches, doctors, that kind of thing, um, we're helping people be healthier. In many cases, we're helping people avoid things that we've endured or been challenged with, or a family member. And sometimes, our purpose is to help other people, and in fact the world, avoid things we've either seen or been through ourselves. So knowing your purpose, I think, enables you to really bring your heart to what it is that you do. And in the same way, when we look out to what the future, what our work provides, what our work delivers, is impact. And the currency of success really is impact. So I think if somebody, is in whatever profession they are for the financial benefit or the financial outcome, that could be okay. And that person could help a lot of people, and that person could have a lot of abundance for themselves and their families. But I think when the currency of success really is impact and just contribution and impact, I think you touch and impact way more people because your voice and your presence has that purity. The financial agenda is taken out of people's experience of you, and you impact more people. Your purpose is more fulfilled, and you have even more abundance. So I think that's the foundation of helping people and having a business with heart.
So true. And when the currency of success is impact, I love that. And you talk a lot in your lecture for our business track about the fact that coaches come to this field with heart, with a calling to serve. And so then going into business, it's not hard because they just apply those principles. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting to know some of the kinds of things that are operating in other business categories, even than the one that you and your clients and students are in. So as an example, there may not be many people in your community who want to take an investor into their business, or who want to attract other kinds of partners. But the interesting thing is, when we do look at the community of companies and investors that invest in companies, they're looking at this very same thing, right? They're looking at not just what kind of a business is it, how is it performing, but they really are looking at the self-awareness of the founder and his or her awareness of their story, awareness of their own path that brought them to this moment, which enables them to be a better leader in the kinds of things that help the business do better. So it's, there really isn't any category of business or professional practice to which this does not apply.
And with your experience through Consumer Health Summit and being an advisor to so many founders, you are the person who certainly would know that. And are you seeing that even increasing now than, let's say, when you first started out?
In what I just described,
Yeah. Is there?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. I think sometimes, it's really what comes first, the horse or the cat. How does that phrase go? The chicken or the egg, the horse or the
horse before the cart.
right. I think some of these kinds of awarenesses, I think, have been born, at similar times. I mean, there are groups of founders that have become more, how do I say this? I mean, this idea of personal development, this idea of someone having a real self-assessment, having a real sense of their personal truth, has come to fruition, has come to, a broad embrace along a lot of business categories. Now, there may be business categories that just, aren't there yet. But I think the categories of business and professional practice where we're helping people a lot of times in one-to-one relationships and one-to-one communications, it's very important to the client, let's say with health coaching or even with a doctor. When we talk about a personal brand, a well-known doctor or a well-known coach or a well-known personality who's helping lots and lots of people, some of whom they're meeting in their practice, some of whom are online, that maybe thousands or millions that they'll never meet. But when we are trying to help people be better with their health, with their relationships, with their mindset, the client or the patient always wants to know, who's giving me the information? What's in it for them? Why are they doing it? Before people get to the methodology of how you do what you do, before they get to the methodology or the protocol of how does the coach help me be better, the first thing they're evaluating isn't the method, it's the person. Right? Their limbic brain needs to signal to them that they're safe with that human being, even if it's just the person's picture on a website. Before they get to methodology, before they get to how the results are going to happen, they need to be safe with the messenger. And so a safe messenger is, a woman or man who is comfortable in their own skin, whose presence appears to be that they are disproportionately about contribution and helping the world be better versus bettering themselves, and particularly financially. So
I love that. And it's so true. And you could smell someone who not genuine. And when you go to their website and you can see it's slick and it's all about making money, and as opposed to sharing an authentic story and being real and relatable. And then it leads to rapport. And people feel like, oh, I'm comfortable. So they haven't even met yet, but they're having a sense that I have a connection, or something about this individual is, again, heart-centered. It resonates, and I'm
yeah,
comfortable.
yes, and just these ideas of affinity, of resonance, of relatability, of connection. I mean, those are, they're qualitative. They're words that describe an experience. It's hard to measure it on a scoreboard, or in, say, metrics or email opens and clicks and these sorts of things. But the fact is, when you craft and create websites and messages and videos and content, with all of this in mind, guess what? The numbers show it. They really do. There are things you can test headline A versus headline B. We all know that. But when the business is generating purpose at that level, it makes it makes a measurable difference. It really does. And the thing is, you know, one of the things I've said over time is you can't tell your customers or your patients or your clients that you love them unless you actually do. You know, like no business, no practitioner, nobody should say, well, let's get loving. Let's like just bring love onto our platform. Like, okay, well, nice try, but you know, I don't, what, it doesn't matter if you're a health coach or selling butterfly nets or tires or whatever, you can bring a human to human experience to anything that you do. And particularly in the healing professions, of course, there's nowhere that it could be more important.
We're talking about being genuine, being real. These are character strengths. And we teach this at FMCA it's part of positive psychology. And it's really, really important. And you're also talking about, I think, telling your story, because a lot of people who are going into the field of coaching and they get all anxious about setting up a website and all of the mechanics and all of those details on the tech side, for example, but often not looking enough to the fact that you've got it. You've got your story. You have this purpose and that you're coming from, and that's what you need. And that's why in our business track, we're really emphasizing mindset. And your talk is lead from the heart, the importance of that. So would you say that really being able to tell your story is so crucial?
Yeah, yeah. Well, a mutual friend of ours, I think, is Bo Eason, who's
Yes.
a wonderful speaker and coach on stories. And what he says is, what's personal is universal, right? Now, that doesn't mean what happened to me happened to my audience, or what happened to you happened to your audience. But the point is, if you tell a story and say, you know, when I was 10 years old, and immediately everyone listening to you goes to when they were 10 years old, right? So as they're learning about you as the healer, as the messenger, as the coach, as the doctor, as they're learning about you, and you're creating affinity and connection and vulnerability between yourself and those people, you're also serving as a mirror where they're locating their life inside of some of the things that happened to you. Well, you know, what happened to you? Well, something different happened to me, but your story helps me remember mine, right? Great storytellers create affinity, create connection, and also serve as a mirror to the person watching or listening. And it's very powerful. And I think that's what Bo means when he says it's what I get when I hear what's personal is universal. It's like, if you share your story, everybody feels the freedom and sometimes the revelation to recall their own story and what might have been even concealed up until this moment.
That's so true and really important. And I've been a member of your Consumer Health Summit community and have seen this from the stage of those events when somebody is a founder, a best-selling author, and they're not talking about tactics or strategy necessarily. That what we remember is their story, and being on stage sharing that is so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, somebody recently, we may have been in the same place. So if you remember who said this, tell me, because I always want to credit people. But somebody said, you know, they can argue with statistics, they can argue with data, but they can't argue with your story.
So yeah, it might have been, was that Chris Smith? He says, you know, somebody could have the same community, they can be the same profession, do exactly what you do, write a similar book, but nobody has your unique story. So it might have been Chris.
Yeah, Chris is a great man. It wasn't him, but it was somebody very.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. So speaking of Consumer Health Summit, which you just had a wonderful event, and any takeaways, any messages that, or any thoughts you have about words of wisdom from that event that you'd like to talk about with our audience?
Well, on the one hand, I'm sure this what we're doing right now is timeless, and maybe somebody will watch it a year or 10 years from now. But at the same time, we're having this discussion during the era, if you will, of COVID, right? Where, most of 2020 has been kind of enveloped in that. And so, we had 35 people in Arizona on site, which is about half our normal number because we limit the admissions, as you know. And, we talk science here, we talk brain science. You're a psychologist, I just pretend to know something. And, everybody's amygdala, everybody's brain is on high alert right now, right? So, and I've been talking about this just about my whole career, as long as I've had this awareness. But so now the world is like this living laboratory where you just see the reactivity and the fear that people are having. So to your question, we had a wonderful group in person of about, like I said, 35, 36 people. We tested every single person for transmissible COVID on the first and second day. And so the point of saying that is the more things you can do to remove considerations from people's awareness, if they're in it, if they're in your practice, if they're in a one-to-one Zoom meeting with you, if they're in a group that you're leading, anytime you can remove considerations, you're allowing that person to settle in without external noise, external considerations, and you get more of that person because they're literally less worried. They don't have what I call considerations. I don't know if that's a clinical word or not, but so, the lesson that wasn't necessarily learned, but reaffirmed is that, when you do things for people, whether it's provide a luxurious experience or handle details that are surprising to them, or in this case, make it as safe, literally as physically safe to the human body as you can, people lean into whatever experience it is that you're committed to providing, right? And so we had 36 people plus a pretty big production team that weren't afraid of each other, So I think there are lessons from this period of time that we can take into when this threat hopefully subsides sometime soon. There will still be lessons because there's so much of this period of time has been in an exaggerated, amplified state, that, human nature is revealing itself so vividly in so many ways, right? But this is the root of hospitality, I think, which is, hospitality isn't just limited to hotels and restaurants. I mean, hospitality is an experience that any business, any trade, any profession, and certainly coaches and doctors can provide an experience of hospitality, which takes the relationship not just from the providing of the service that was promised, but into the emotional realm where people are delighted, people are acknowledged, people feel taken care of, even loved, right? So, these are the kinds of experiences that take any patient, client, customer, any relationship, service relationship, into an emotional realm that generates stories, that generates memories, that puts dimension into the relationship and changes it from like situational or episodic to something that's just so dimensional and so pleasing. And guess what? It has people come back, right? But once again, it has to be delivered from the heart. If it's a strategy, it won't work. Yeah. But you do things that are reflective and congruent with the desire that you already have to take care of people. So
this is so good. And hospitality is everything. And we teach it to students, the importance of that. It's ethically, it's the essence of the coaching relationship. And then you apply it to your business on whoever you're going out and speaking to. You treat people with respect, with hospitality. It's such an important concept. So one final topic, that is your insights into the future of health coaching. Any thoughts you think, where's this field going from what you've seen?
Yeah. Well, as you know, I've been watching the category for a number of years, and I'm cheering for you because I love your leadership and your community, and I mean, look, I've told you, I mean, I think you have the prestige brand in the
It's from
category.
the heart.
Totally from the heart. So, but just in terms of where is it going? Look, it's interesting. There are, I mean, of course, the public has a focus on credentials. Credentials are important. Story is important, but so is capability, right? And so I think the public is slowly becoming. I mean, enough of the public is aware of this and embracing it in that we have a small number, but a number of coaching programs and educational companies that are graduating health coaches, right? And I think it's very exciting. I mean, I think the sheer demographics are that we're not going to have as many doctors as we need in the future. That's what I'm hearing as well. I think that medicine is going to one size fits one, not one size fits all. I think health coaches are particularly adept at bringing that kind of specificity to the way in which they help people, right? Within their range of prowess and authority and education, they know how to be specific to what people need. They tend to be operating outside of the traditional drugs and surgery model because the things that are available to health coaches are things like the right foods and the right supplements and the right relationships and just the kinds of things that really have efficacy and that really speak to this idea of root cause. So I think 1000% there's room for this new credential in the space. And there are many well-known doctors that are employing health coaches within their practices, and I think that integration is important as well. Along with RNs and physicians assistants and medical assistants, and this profession is slowly, and I think in an accelerated manner, being embraced by practices, and there's room not just for people to be their own solo practitioner, but to be employed in practices. And I think that's really exciting as well. So it's really bullish, Sandy. I think it's exciting.
It's in line with what we are seeing, what you've just said. Yeah, very, very bullish, exploding as well,
Yeah.
as particularly now. So this has been delightful, as usual. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. So thank you so much for being on our Facebook Live today. And for everybody who is listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Bye, everybody.